Do you remember I'm a Mac and I'm a PC? It was like a it was an advertising campaign in the 90s where these two companies vied for clients, for customers, for consumers. The Mac was styled as this young, trendy, I suppose you'd call him a hipster now, hipstery sort of person, upwardly coming into his own being. Whereas the PC was an old fuddy-duddy, number cruncher, analyst sort of person. And his advertising campaign ran throughout the 90s, and it was like a major war between Microsoft and Apple. Yeah. And I remember at the time it was like, if you didn't have a Mac, you was a laughing stock or some kind of joke business you was dealing with. It's a major war, and people got caught up on either side of the war, because that's what happens in these wars. That's what they're designed to do, to capture the minds of the people and corral us into like gangs and cliques. It's very effective, and a lot of people who started out on PCs actually ended up switching from a PC to a Mac. And I think that advertising campaign had something to do with it. It was really effective. But the thing is, the PC was a good machine. It could do whatever it is that you needed to do. There was software for you to do it. So really, it wasn't about whether the PC was good enough. The advertising campaign was really targeting people's egos or self-esteem. And it worked really well. And if you think back throughout the ages, there's always been these campaigns corralling people into camps. There was the Atari versus Commodore back in the late 80s. You ever had an Atari ST, or it was a Commodore Amiga, and the two sides never couldn't agree. You was in this camp or you was in that camp. There was VHS and Beta before that. That was a huge war when video first came out. And it's like everybody had VHS. Everyone had VHS. VHS was a smashing beta in the advertising war. Funny enough, the Betamax system apparently had more quality to it, but facts don't seem to matter in these advertising campaigns. What it is, which they're trying to corral us, the manufacturers are trying to capture our minds to get us to spend with them. And because of the way we are, we tend to just go along with it and get caught up in it if we don't focus on what's actually happening. Can we do what we need to do with the equipment that we have? That doesn't seem to come into our minds. So we get swept up and caught away, taken away. The iPhone versus BlackBerry. You remember that? Man. You was either a BlackBerry or you was an iPhone, and there was no in between. There was even hatred on either side for those who had the other machines. That was before the Galaxy came. BlackBerry just got smashed. Although they seemed to be winning at one point. On street level anyway. And the Galaxy took over, and it was iPhone versus Galaxy. Yeah. Same how it is in the camera world. You have the Sony versus the Panasonic. When I came into videos, everyone was using a Sony Z1. It was either that or a Panasonic war or a Canon. But the Canon was really on the photography side, the Canon war between Canon and Nikon, which we see today. Photographers are either Canon shooters or they're Nikon shooters. There's other brands, but those are the main two. And there's hatred. I just don't get that. There's hatred between the users, between the Canon users and the Nikon users and the Nikon users and the Canon users. And sometimes when I go onto these websites, these photography websites, I read the comments. It's madness. They're cameras. They both do a great job. But we get caught up. The manufacturers target our minds, and they must be sitting back and laughing and rubbing their hands together. These stupid people. I was at an event the other day, shooting an event. I was doing photography. And when I got there, there was another photographer who had already set up. And he looked at my bag. It was like sizing me up. And he came over and he said, "What are you shooting?" When I told him what I was shooting, he was shooting the same. So he was like, "Oh, you're right." And then he started talking about the other brands now. And I'm shaking my head inside. I'm shaking my head. I'm like, why does it matter? Why do we get so caught up in this gear brand war where what camera you use has no bearing on what I do? What camera I use has no bearing on what you do. What latest camera Nikon brings out, whichever megapixels it is, doesn't change what it is that I'm doing. And we lose track of that. We get caught up in this war. It's like Biggie and Tupac in terms of cameras. I remember when Biggie and Tupac were going at it, there were people who hated one another because they were on either this side or that side. Nonsense. People, we need to wake up, man. We need to wise up. We need to remember what it is that we're supposed to be doing. Arsenal, Tottenham. Oh my God. These fans of these two teams hate one another with a passion. Why? Who makes money off that? Who benefits off of that? That's the question we should ask ourselves. So the conclusion is, we need to come back and remember what it is that we intended to do when we started on the road that we're on. Does the gear that we have do what we want it to do? Does it help us to create and produce? If so, let's rock and roll with it. Don't worry about what anybody else has or hasn't got. Stop worrying about who's got the best gear, who can shoot the highest resolution, megapixel. None of that matters at the end of the day. In the black and white days, people were shooting in standard definition, in low definition, and producing better stuff than some of the stuff that we're producing today. That's what we're missing out on. And I think that's what we need to start getting back to. Yes. I chalked that.